saying you want to reform planning is different from actually reforming it. So it's always important to look at what the government's actually doing in practice and the things they were considering. So it's been a tough 18 months, but we're starting to see some of the realities that the government realises they need to deliver come through. One of those things, as a government update this week, is local plans. So everyone needs their council to have a local plan that identifies how land is being used, where houses go, what the local policies are. But only a third of local authorities have got an up-to-date local plan. And so this government really wants everyone to have one. And so they're giving everyone until 31st of December 2026 to write and have their plan examined. Otherwise, it'll be a new local plan submission process, which is quicker, a bit more digital, and puts a bit more pressure on. Some local authorities are failing. And we had one local authority called Three Rivers submit a local plan where only 56% of their local housing need was met. 5,000 homes shortfall. They had a little explanation, public explanation as to why they've justified that approach. And so Matthew Pennycook, who was the housing minister, has decided to take a bit more control and effectively have an investigation and stop the process of submission. Now, the councillors that were submitting said they didn't think it would go through because there was not enough justification, but they still submitted it anyway. And these are the games we go through in local planning. But separate to that, the government has also announced that they are going to be doubling the amount of local planning inspectors. So local planning inspectors effectively that look at these plans, say yes to them, or tell local authorities to do X, Y and Z to improve them. That's great, but it suggests that the shake-up is really going to be taking place. And part of that shake-up is about planning in general and where you might deliver an urban extension, a new city, a new town, or, in the case of Cambridge, a regeneration strategy. So the government has announced a centralised development corporation for Greater Cambridge that will lead on delivering a lot of the regeneration in the area. And that's actually really interesting because the last person, only one I can really think of to do that was Michael Gove. I'm not sure he did it in a way to actually deliver for Cambridge, but he effectively used what's called Homes England to take planning powers away from local authorities and potentially give Homes England, which is a non-government departmental body, the powers of planning to do work in that area. Now, it was at the end of his tenure in government, and I think he knew that this looked good, but probably wasn't going to deliver, and he didn't have to deliver it or think about delivering it till after the election. But he was the first Secretary of State to do that with Homes England, give them those planning powers. And it seems like this government's actually doing that. This isn't Homes England necessarily, or it might be, we'll see how it all unfolds, but development corporations are how we built the homes of the past, when we had the great numbers, and they are a really useful mechanism to ensure that you are at least trying to tackle the housing and place-making crisis. Place-making is key, it's not just houses we build, as you'll hear me say that a lot if you do get stuck watching my videos. But you've got to actually do stuff if you promise planning reforms. And I will go through a lot of the things the government has done, because they have done a lot, and that'll be in a separate video. But you need to start piecing it all together to understand what the plan is. And look, 1.5 million homes is not going to happen this Parliament. But if they can get us on the road to delivering that many, build the capacity and the planning environment to deliver that, and deliver 300,000 homes in 1 year in any of those 5 years in government, I tell you what, that is a huge, huge success. And it shouldn't be understated, and it shouldn't be criticised if they inevitably miss their targets. And bringing back those housing numbers, as was identified in the first piece when I talked about Three Rivers not only delivering 56% of their housing need, that's the Tories got their numbers up. They had targets in place. So it's good that the government's reintroducing them, and even better that they're holding local authorities to account when they're not ambitious enough to deliver them. So any comments, questions, criticisms, moans about the fact that we're building too much stuff, feel free to leave in the comments. But if you want to build things right, whether that's too many or too few, whatever your position is, you still need a planning system that works. because that doesn't just make projects come forward more quickly, but it makes all projects more affordable to deliver, and actually that can only be a good thing, especially with the price of housing.